Hey, it's Elena Shanley here, and I'm doing questions for a coach. I am a family and relationship coach, and I call myself a teen advocate. Not necessarily a teen coach, I just advocate for teens, and because they just are what they are, right? They definitely have a gap that everybody's able to identify, but a lot of that is developmentally appropriate for where they are. So I'm a teen advocate because I feel like they are grossly misunderstood, as well as a family and relationship coach. So I'm doing what I have coined questions with a coach, and this is where you guys send me questions via comments or direct message or anything like that, and I will take some time to answer them for you. I didn't get a lot of questions this time. I think it's relatively new and people aren't sure what to ask. So this one might be a little short, but I'm going to do about 2 questions. So one question I got is, my kid is 13 and wants to start dating. Is this too young to date? Well, there's a whole lot to this, and anytime I tell somebody and talk to them about their kids and what their kids should be doing or shouldn't be doing or anything like that, I like to preface it with, you know your kid best. I clearly do not know your child or what is going on in the situation. What I do know here and what I will say is that when we talk about dating, there are certain definitions, and what one person thinks of as dating, another person might not even be going there. So I think whether than me telling you it's appropriate for your 13-year-old to date or not, what I would do is to let you know that this is a great place to start conversation with your child about dating. So things like asking them what dating means at their age, what would change if they started to date this particular person, take an interest. This is a good time to ask. They clearly like somebody, and usually when they do, they want to talk about them. And as long as you're not, putting off some kind of threatening vibe about it, I'm sure they're more open to open up to you about them, especially if it's coming up in conversation about whether or not they would be allowed to date. So this is a good time to ask, like, well, tell me about this person you like, and what do you like about them, and do you think they like you? What makes you think that? And just listening to their answers. This is a great time to start that base of communicating with your teenager and being the kind of person that your teen doesn't mind going to about life situations and relationships. So if you were to sit down and have these conversations in a very non-threatening way, asking a lot of open-ended questions, refrain from any of the shaming or, well, you're too young and things like that. Just be wide open and listen and ask them about this person and ask them what dating means. When my son was in middle school, he told me he had a crush on a girl and he was going to ask her to be his girlfriend. And I asked him, well, what is dating like right now? I mean, obviously y'all don't have cars and you're not taking each other out. So talk to me about what that means for you. And he's like, well, what it is like, we all just play basketball and we're out at the courts. And when she's your girlfriend, you get to take a shot and yell out her name, and it's like a good luck. Like, that was the whole thing right there. So here I was like, oh, we're dating. Oh, kissing, STDs. I'm starting to freak out. But no, it was just a good luck charm. And it increased rapidly. I'm not going to say it stayed that way for all of middle school, but that's where it was starting. And so that's a great place to have a conversation. So I'd start with what dating means for them. And then I would go into just learning about this person. You'll start to learn what they're interested in, and you'll open that door and validate that you are somebody who can just listen and not, jump all down their throat, which is something that I hear the kids say all the time. I don't share anything with my parents because they cut me off mid-sentence. Well, you shouldn't have done this and you shouldn't have done that. So I'm going to say I encourage you to have this conversation with your teen, and your intuition and your knowledge of your teen is going to tell you whether or not this is an okay situation for you. And that's pretty much good, I think, for anybody who is struggling with this kind of idea. So I like that question. That's a really good question. Thank you. The second question that I want to cover, and I don't want to make these too long, so I'm just going to do a couple, is going to be, oh no. I say oh no because this one kind of hits home for me a little bit. So I have a blended family, and my wife, it is a wife. I wrote this down. I hate to be all judgmental, but usually I would think it would be the other way around. My wife doesn't seem to get along with my child. Is there anything I can do? Okay, so get along with my child. And I put a little bit of thought into this earlier. However, I must have totally overlooked the wife part. Okay. Being that I don't have backstory on this one, I'm also going to kind of go a little bit vague here. When somebody tells me that somebody doesn't get along, I tend to, I used to go straight to high conflict, a lot of fighting, calling each other names back and forth and things like that. Let's assume for a moment that that's not what you mean, because what I've come to learn is that not getting along is sometimes as basic as just not connecting, not understanding each other, a lot of misunderstanding, a lot of miscommunication, and a lot of jumping to conclusions, which may not be, hugely high conflict. So what I'm going to say is think about where you are. So if you're referring to a relationship with your spouse and your child in a blended family where you feel like they don't get along as far as they don't communicate well, or the expectations are on different levels from what is happening or what needs to be happening in their eyes, again, that's a good place for conversation. And hopefully that conversation has already happened between the two of you and your spouse. And if it has, that's great. Then you start adding your child or children into that conversation. If you have not, then you start there. What kinds of things make you believe that they don't get along? And if it's miscommunication on their part, then maybe conversations about, communication being a two-way street, making sure that you're listening with the intent to understand rather than the intent to reply. And then making sure that you're creating a space and an attitude that is open to somebody actually sharing. A lot of the times, I don't know how old this child is, but preteens and teens, a lot of the times that they won't share, I covered briefly a second ago in the last question, was that they're already anticipating, or they've already been proven, it's been proven and validated that when they say something, somebody will cut them off and take it in a whole nother direction. So you'll want to be aware of those kinds of moments and make sure that you're creating this space of fully just listening. You want to honor feelings. Any kid, just like any adult, wants their feelings honored and validated. And that doesn't mean that you're telling them that they are correct. It means that you are saying, wow, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I can see how that would make you upset, kind of thing. You're not saying that what somebody did was wrong, or that, the child is in the right to expect this or to have responded in that way. You're just simply listening for the emotion. So the developmental part of our children takes so many steps from, child all the way through to teenager. And I'll be putting a training on for teenagers, developmental stages and how to handle those changes and things like that in the future, if you're looking for that. But even as kids, we're honestly working on emotional regulation, very basic emotional understanding. So them being able to just verbalize what they're feeling needs to be honored in itself. That's a huge, huge win right there. A lot of the times they don't even know what they're feeling. So you want to give that space for listening. If the, I don't want to say conflict, if the not getting along that you're referring to has to do with expectations, then that might signal that there needs to be some expectations clarified within the family unit. Again, I don't know if this blended family resides together full time, or if it's kind of a split situation, visitation, or anything like that. But regardless of what the situation is, you're going to want some stability in that home. So again, first I'd say spouses need to get together on expectations and kind of set the scene for the house. And then there's no reason why you can't include your children in those kinds of expectations. And again, feel open to their response. Now, I'm not saying change the expectations based on what they say. I'm saying it's good for them to play a part. They're more likely to buy into these expectations of the household or the family if they are a part in creating that definition and what that looks like for them. If you are referring to that original high conflict that is where my brain used to go, and I think a lot of people do, maybe they're not getting along because there's a lot of language and name calling and slamming doors and all of that kind of stuff. That might take a little bit more of a deeper understanding. That might take a little bit more of an outside perspective. You might want to seek some kind of coaching, counseling, depending on whether you're dealing with some, mental health issues or not. But at the very least, I would start with the original plan of coming together, making sure that you're communicating clearly as parents and adults in the household as far as listening, for the sake of listening, not to respond, and that you're validating their feelings. And that you're being very clear on expectations and boundaries and things like that. Sometimes we, as parents, can very easily jump into what I call reactionary parenting, which means when something comes up, then we panic, then we respond. And that usually isn't going to be, it's not going to be as effective as if we were to parent in a more proactive way, where we're talking about what these expectations are and how we're going to handle them when they come up. That way you have a basic understanding of what's happening, and to let the kid in on that and let them know what is expected. So I hope that's very clear. It's only 2 questions, but we're looking at a 10, 15-minute video already. But very good questions. Thank you. I love both of those. I hope you guys got a little something from it. It's the first time I've done this. I'm trying to figure out how to get it not more scripted, but a little bit more clear. So bear with me on that. But in the meantime, I'm definitely going to do this again. I have at least one other question that was asked. And so if you want to send me some more, I will work those in, and we'll just do this a little bit more regularly. I'm going to give it a while before I do the next episode of Questions with Your Coach. Probably a couple weeks, so get those questions in direct message. You can email me at fountain.coach@gmail.com, and you can comment in any of my pictures on Instagram or my posts on Facebook. Just let me know that that's your intention, is that you have a question for your coach, and I will get those in there. In the meantime, check out my website, www.fountainofyoucoaching.com. That's Fountain of You, Y-O-U. Coaching.com, and see what's new. There's a lot of stuff out there. I am actually launching it's like a social emotional learning program for teens, and we're going to cover kind of the basics of self-care, identifying emotions, emotional regulation, coping, and a little bit of identifying red flags and what to do with that, whether in yourself or with other friends. There's no need to be local because I work online. So if that sounds like something you'd like, get your kid registered. It's for teens between 11 and 19 usually is a good time for that. And then I can have them separated by age. And that will launch in August, but there is early bird pricing right now until July 20th. So make sure that you get in on that early bird pricing. I'll try to drop the link. I'm not sure how to do that with IGTV, so it's on the website, and you can always direct message me anytime you want. I'm here for you. I want to make sure that you have all the information you need, and thank you for your questions with the coach, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have for us next time. Let me know how you feel about this in the comments or emojis or whatever it is you're going to do, and let me know if this is helpful for you. Okay? All right, guys. Take care. Bye.